evening, everyone. I mean, it really is a privilege to be able to join you for what I think is a very special celebration tonight, the 5th anniversary of the Naz Legacy Foundation. I never got a chance to meet your father, but I'm absolutely sure he would be hugely proud of everything that you've accomplished in his name since he passed away. And I think one of the main things that really we all have in common is a real belief in people, actually, and the ability of people to make a massive difference in one another's lives, but much more powerfully than that when they decide to come together around a common aim and a common goal. And it's great to see Valerie Amos here. I haven't really seen Valerie since my days in international development, but one of the things I learned during those 4 years nearly that I did that job was it takes people to make a decision that things need to be different for them to change. And things don't just change by osmosis. They change because actually we decide we want them to be different. But when we make those choices, actually, we can transform things. And your father was one of those people who I think understood that instinctively and had a life that embodied changing things in so many ways, not just in his own life, clearly, but in the lives that he touched of thousands and thousands of people who came into contact with him. And obviously I know Ernest Bevin because it's a school where I'm an MP in Wandsworth. And I have this incredible privilege now to be Secretary of State for Education and Minister for Women and Equalities. And I will always maintain that it is the best job, I think it's probably the best job in our country. Because if you do believe in people, and if you do believe in the power of young people especially to change things, and if you do believe in people being able to do their best by being able to be themselves, but being able to meet their potential, then that's, for me, where it starts, is in education. And I just want to really talk a little bit about how what we're doing now in my department and what the foundation is doing is inextricably linked and brilliantly, I think, woven together. I mean, first of all, we've had a real sense of trying to lift people up and level a playing field on opportunity through the work that we do in our department. We've probably never done more work than we do now, really working in and with communities. So a sense of going into those parts of the country where we know we can do better and we know talent is evenly spread around our country. So we want to make sure that we really work on the ground in the places where our schools can do a lot better for students and for young people. And the opportunity area work that we've been doing is all about levelling the playing field of opportunity for young people in parts of the country where we know we want to work the hardest, because they're most likely to be the young people who are the furthest away from having a level playing field. We're also doing a lot more work actually around technical education, because young people have different aspirations, and whilst we've done a lot of work on improving our academic routes, for a lot of our young people, actually the majority of young people who don't go on to university, our technical routes in education have just not been at that same level. And what we've wanted is an equality of opportunity, but it has to be embedded in matching people's choices, and that's what we're doing at the moment. But I remember when I went into the DFE, for me, I talked to them about education being about really 3 different things. One was around knowledge and skills. One was around the right advice at the right time. But the final thing was getting great experiences. And I think what's interesting about what the foundation does is it really touches all 3 of those things, which I think is fantastic. It comes at those 3 agendas from perhaps a different angle, but does it brilliantly. And the right advice at the right time, and the work that you do with the Prince's Trust through Mosaic and the mentoring, I think is fantastic. You know, I look back to my own childhood. My first minority, I guess, was being a Conservative growing up in Rotherham. But it did teach me, as you talked about, Harris, to sort of understand and listen to people and listen to views and understand how far you go along a road before you maybe find out that you at that stage have a different opinion, but actually generally when you work back, there's so much more that you have in common, but you just kind of need to find where the roads depart and then understand and accept, and indeed sometimes I think just celebrate the fact that people have got different views on things. It would be an incredibly boring country if we did all agree, but actually I genuinely think that we get better results through the debate and the difference and the discussion on some of the key topics that we debate in our country. But on right advice at the right time, I think for young people this is absolutely critical, and the mentoring is key. I remember I was the first person in my family to go to university, but no one in my family had done it, and so when I wanted to get advice about what to do, which university to go to, I remember asking my parents and them really saying, well, we don't know. We just don't know really what to suggest, and I had to go and try and find out, and actually there were some people I knew who'd been to university, but not really in my close family, and correcting that by giving people the access and the support to have those conversations that work for them when they need them is absolutely critical. I didn't really think about doing law when I was at my college because I'd never met a lawyer. And I didn't really know what that profession was about, so how could I possibly even consider being a lawyer? I don't know whether I'd have been a good lawyer. Maybe I'm good at arguing, so maybe it would have been, maybe I've worked out quite well. But these mentoring programs that you do are absolutely critical in giving young people the confidence and a sense of their own ability and the opportunities that are out there. And it's very hard to aim for something if you don't even know it exists, or if you do know it exists, you have a sense that it's not something for you, because maybe no one's ever told you. Of course it's for you, why wouldn't it be? And those are the sorts of nuggets of advice that I think can really transform young people. And for me, it's a bit like a just add water strategy with education. You know, all the talent's there. People have already got what it takes to make a success of themselves for the most part. It's about how we unlock that. And then the other thing that you do, I think, brilliantly is around great experiences, and the diversity program in particular just gives those touch points that for young people, those windows on a different world, on a different future that can inspire them, just give them a taster of what their future might hold that is perhaps different. And it's a bit like a world that steadily goes perhaps from being black and white to a whole rainbow of colours ahead of you that you couldn't imagine before. But once you have some of these experiences through the diversity programme, when you start to meet some really different people, really do begin to open up your world, but develop you as a person. I had never met anyone who went to private school until I went to university. I'd heard about these people who weren't apparently at state schools. I thought everybody went to a state school. But, you know, it's the discussion you have with very, very different people from very, very different backgrounds that helps them grow, but also you grow too. And I think that the Foundation's done a superb job of helping people get a sense of what they have to give, and how, frankly, the differences that we have are the strength of this country. And actually that, never more so than now, is what we need to draw on and use to be a successful country in the 21st century. So I want to say a massive, massive thank you to everything that you do. I know that one of your father's sayings was, it's not what you do in your lifetime that really matters, it's the legacy that you leave behind for the next generations to follow that makes a difference. And I think your father was absolutely right. And one of the things I know that the Foundation had asked me when I was interested in coming along to support you was, who was my mentor? And I did think about that for a while, because I think the mentoring you do is brilliant, because actually I recognise I probably didn't have that particularly to access when I was growing up. But I think if I did have one mentor, I would point to my father, who is an incredible man, who was perhaps much more out of sight in many respects than your father, and the role that he had and did brilliantly. But in his own way was every bit as much of an inspiration for me when I was growing up encouraged me, even though he perhaps didn't know about the opportunities that I could aim for, just told me to go for it anyway, and gave me a confidence that I think was really special to try and do my best. I think his advice to me was just do your best, and if you do your best, then that in the end is what really, really matters. And don't necessarily be in a competition with other people, be in competition with yourself about whether you think you've really given it your all, and enjoy your life. I think the final thing he taught me was really that some of the times, in fact generally the times that you develop the most are when things go wrong, not when things are going well. And it's how you respond to those moments that actually probably define you as a person, and they're the times when you really get to grow the most. And I think that those are really important messages that he gave me that very much align with all of the things that your father, who is a hugely special person clearly, taught all of you and taught all of us. So congratulations on your first 5 years. I'm absolutely sure there'll be many, many 5 years chunks to come. You do some things that I think transform the lives of lots of young people, and it's hugely appreciated. And I know that there are lots of us here tonight who are big supporters, and that will continue into the future. So well done and congratulations.